Hey, what's going on, fam? So I'm just gonna go ahead and do a real quick video. Won't be one of my longer videos. Basically combining the my take on the George Floyd and Breonna Taylor murders. So even though most of you should know, some of you may not know. Obviously, George Floyd is the brother who was recently killed by a white race soldier named Derek Chauvin or Chauvin, however you pronounce that. He put his knee on his neck for 10 minutes, 10 or 15 minutes, however long it was, until he died. And, the white supremacists are coming up with all their typical excuses about, oh, what about black on black crime? What about the fact that more whites are killed by police officers, even though whites have a much larger population and white people get away with killing cops a lot more? White people are also the number one cop killers in the nation, but you don't see white people circulating that stat. All of their white supremacist whataboutism excuses. Breonna Taylor was a sister who got ran up on by race soldiers who so-called ran in the wrong house and came in there guns blazing and shot and killed her. Um, and I didn't talk about that case. And when I first saw this thing happen with George Floyd, I really didn't want to talk about this case. And the reason why, fam, is three major reasons why. A, the number one reason is because black people are not going to do shit to stop or change this. Black people are going to keep doing the repeatedly same stupid responses that allow this to keep happening. And I'll get more into detail of that in a moment. That's number one. Number two, white people are not going to do anything about this. A lot of them are going to show a lot of fake concern and all that's so sad and all shucks. I mean, even Sean Hannity. Um, shows fake concern and that's so troubling and that's so disturbing, and they'll put on their sad, concerned face on all kinds of white media. So a lot of white people know to play the good cop. White people know that all of them can't be out here outright justifying um, these murders. Otherwise, it would expose them as a racist society. So they know that some of them have to, in order to maintain the system of white supremacy, which the system of white supremacy the strongly depends in this modern version, in this modern refined version, it strongly depends on pretending that it does not exist. So in order to maintain that facade that it does not exist, it is important and it is imperative that some white people play the good cop in situations like this, or that a lot of white people play the good cop. So yeah, you'll watch the news and we're gonna share a disturbing video, and they look so sad right before they share the video, but they don't give a shit, because if they gave a shit, they would be calling for punishment, and they would say that the things that have happened in the past, where these officers and these vigilantes have gotten off, like George Zimmerman and Darren Wilson, they would be saying things like that does not need to happen anymore. That needs to stop. That is unacceptable. This is racism, and if this person gets off, it's more racism. It's more white supremacy. They'll never say that. They'll just say, "We'll now share disturbing video," and then after they share the video, they'll share their opinions about how sad and unfair it was, and sometimes they'll bring on a black token Negro analyst to scream and holler about how unfair it is, and this is what we deal with for 400 years, and all of the obvious platitude BS. And then at the end of it, they'll say, "Police are investigating the matter," or the a grand jury is being convened, and then they'll move on to the next story, instead of calling for punishment at any point. And half the time, the Negro analyst or the Negro spokesperson that they'll bring onto these news shows to get all mad and talk about how it's unfair how they treat us, and this is racism, and it's so bad for black people, and this is why we protest, and this is why we say Black Lives Matter. After they get done saying all that standard scripted BS, that Negro that they bring on TV half the time, they won't call for punishment, let alone the white news anchor. The Negro analysts won't even call for punishment. So that's the second reason, is that white people are going to do a lot of good cop playing and showing a lot of fake sympathy while not calling for punishment and not calling for new laws and new policies and a black agenda to stop these kind of things happening to black people. They're not going to call for any tangible solutions. So that's number two. White people don't give a shit except to show fake sympathy and play a good cop to the obvious white supremacists making excuses to their bad cop. That's number two. Number three, a lot of times because white people nor black people are going to do shit to stop this stuff is not being circulated because it's they feel like people need to know what's happening, or because it's a genuine, honest news story. These stories are being circulated for one or two reasons. Either A, because they can't help but not to circulate it because we're living in an age of social media and camera phones. And a lot of times what the white media would do in the past is they would suppress this police brutality. Because understand, fam, a lot of people think that police brutality has somehow gotten worse, and it hasn't. It has been pretty much consistent at basically, yeah, it might fluctuate a little bit. Excuse me for the cough, fam. But yeah, it might fluctuate a little bit, but for the most part, overall, in generally speaking, the police brutality has remained pretty much consistent ever since slavery. It's not that it's really significantly worse now than it was in the 60s or in the 80s or in the 20s or any other era. What it is now is that it's more out there because people have camera phones and they're sharing this stuff and they have social media to share this stuff. So sometimes the media can't help but cover these stories. They have no choice because if they didn't cover it, people would cover it anyway outside of the media, and that would just further undermine the media's credibility that they wouldn't talk about stories like this. So that's number one. That's one of the two reasons why um, the media shares these kind of stories. But the other reason is family, y'all don't understand the history of white supremacy. And y'all don't understand the fact that these white supremacists get pleasure out of murdering black people. To the point where back in the day it used to be an event. That's where we got picnics from. That was white people gathering and eating a meal around a hanging black dead body. And the occasion was the dead black body. Let's eat a meal in celebration of this entertaining, fun event. You would look at some pictures of lynching and you would see white kids pointing and smiling. It's like they were watching a clown show. The white supremacists used to cut off black men's genitals and keep them as souvenirs. So these people, and ears and noses and fingers and everything else. But the penis was the prize souvenir from a lynching. So these white people used to come away with souvenirs. These white people used to make postcards out of lynchings. They used to have picnics and meals out of lynchings. At half the time, you couldn't tell if these white supremacists were conducting a lynching or if they were at Disneyland. They would circulate photos of this stuff. Do you understand that's why they took film of Ahmaud Arbery? It's so that they could circulate this as a memento, just like the same way they used to take pictures at lynchings and make postcards out of lynchings. So that's the third reason, fam, why I don't really like talking about these stories, because I know that the fact that because these stories are not gonna be used to change anything, that a lot of white supremacists are circulating this as a snuff film, as a pleasure film, as a memento of the fact that they committed this lynching. Even as some of them are pretending to be so horrified by it, they're secretly enjoying this. Also, it reminds them that the system of white supremacy is still intact, because a lot of white people are getting insecure because a lot of black people have been allowed under this refined version of white supremacy to achieve financial statuses, sometimes a lot of times beyond white people. Even some so-called common black people who aren't celebrities are doing a lot better than some of these white supremacists out here. So because white supremacy has refined itself and it has changed on the surface, some white people start to have doubts like, are we really in control anymore? Because we do a lot of shit that seems like we're allowing these Negroes to be equal. And I know about 3 Negroes who are my neighbors who make more money than me. So some white supremacists start to get insecure about whether or not the system of white supremacy is still in place. And so when videos like this are circulated, it reassures them that the system of white supremacy is still in place. So those are the three main reasons why I don't like to talk about these videos, and why I'm just going to do a Breonna Taylor and George Floyd video in one. But let me go ahead and elaborate a little bit further on what I mean by black people ain't going to do nothing. Black people are going to do the same old dumb shit that they've always been doing. You're going to cry, you're going to get emotional, you're going to share some stupid ass symbolic hashtag like I run with Maud that does nothing. You're going to sit up here and cry, oh, you don't understand how much it hurts us. But yet when black people like me try to tell you that we live in a white supremacy, well, these good white peoples. You're always focusing on the wrong thing. What does a good white person matter to George Floyd when he's dead? What does a good white person matter to Ahmaud Arbery when he's dead? What does a good white person happen to Breonna Taylor when she's dead? And if you want to prevent the next Ahmaud Arbery, the next Breonna Taylor, the next George Floyd, you need to stop worrying about a damn good white person. That's one of the many stupid things that black people come up with and say in response to these things. Another thing that black people do that enable this kind of thing, because I blame black society for all of these murders. Because, fam, I want to backtrack and make you guys understand this is why we got upset about certain things. This is why I've gotten upset so much, have so much passion about voting and about suicidal strategies. Because the same Negroes who keep voting over and over for Democrats, these a lot of times are Democrats who run these cities and these states where these people get off. It was a Democrat in Ferguson who held that grand jury farce and let Darren Wilson get off. A lot of times in these cities, not just the president, but even the president, because we saw Obama sign a Blue Lives Matter bill when police brutality was going on left and right. He signs a Blue Lives Matter bill. So yes, we can go to and obviously we have Biden's law, the mass incarceration bill that still harms us as I speak at this very moment. So yeah, we obviously have multiple examples of national Democrats doing things that harm black society. But we also have local Democrats. Again, Bob McCullough, that Ferguson prosecutor, he was a Democrat, and he went out of his way to let not George. I said George. I'm mixing up race soldiers. Darren Wilson get off. From the local down up to the national level. I keep warning black people, it's not harmless that you vote for Democrats. A lot of black people take this approach where, oh, you can vote if you want. I mean, I personally don't support Democrat, or some black people take this. I personally don't really vote, or I personally don't really get into that, but I'm not going to tell nobody not to vote in. And you can support Democrats, and it's not a big deal. No, it is a big deal, fam, because the Democrats just don't sit back and do nothing while the Republicans hurt us. They actively act against us. We vote for them, and then they do laws that intentionally are meant to harm us. And my apologies for the cough, fam, again. But they do policies that are intentionally meant to harm us. They actively aggress against us. They do not just sit back and be passive. Biden's law was an aggressive anti-black law. That's why it didn't get applied to his crackhead ass son. That's why when we have opioids right now, everybody's saying it's a public health crisis. If you look at Biden's speech back when he was passing the crime bill, he was saying, look, I know that our society created these people. He was talking about black people and how they deprive black people and deprive them of resources, would force them to become criminals in order to extract resources. Joe Biden acknowledged on the Congress floor, he said, I know that we made these people and I don't give a damn. We have to lock them up. Yet when white people have drugs, they sit up here and talk about how it's a public health crisis, and they know that they made them, and then they don't enact punishment. And not only are they being hypocritical by not enacting the same harshness against white drugs that they did black drugs, they won't even go back and repeal the harsh laws against black people and repeal the harsh punishments and say, hey, we realize now that a criminalizing approach to drugs is wrong. That's why we're approaching this white crisis, this white opioid crisis as a public health crisis, and this meth crisis as a public health crisis. So because we're approaching that as a public health crisis, we're going to go back and fix some of this criminalizing we made of black people. Or at the very least, we're not going to criminalize black drug use going forward. But they will do neither. As a matter of fact, we're speaking about police brutality. Half the time they'll use the fact that the black person supposedly smoked weed like Botham John as more reason for them to be killed. Then a lot of Negroes, not only do you love voting, even though you're voting for people who are actively harming you, no, they are not passively sitting back. They are actively aggressing against you, which is no different than the Republicans. As a matter of fact, the Republicans might accidentally help you a little bit because they limit and restrict immigration, which causes a lot of black people to lose jobs. So if anything, the Republicans accidentally help black people by limiting integration and limiting job competition for black Americans. While the Democrats sit up here and pass Biden's laws, or they are at the local level, since you have Negroes out here telling you to vote suicide down ballot. At the local level, they're engineering these Darren Wilsons getting off. It's dangerous to vote for Democrats. You must get something in exchange, or you must withhold your vote. But a lot of stupid ass black people still get so emotional and so offended when you say don't vote. Yet they wonder why this Breonna Taylor shit keeps happening. Yet they wonder why this George Floyd shit keeps happening. Another stupid thing that black people do, this is why we got upset about people like Jay-Z. Jay-Z was put in as a token to replace Colin Kaepernick. And facilitate and enable the silencing and the crushing of Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick spoke up against police brutality. The white supremacists kicked him out of the NFL for that, and then they covered it up, and they used Jay-Z to help them cover it up. So all you dumb Negroes out here talking about how Jay-Z, it was the chess move. You're responsible for George Floyd. You're responsible for Ahmaud Arbery. You know why? Because you enable white supremacists to keep doing this and then cover it up like they do with Jay-Z. It's the chess move. It's the chess move. This is why this shit keeps happening. This is why we got so upset for all you dumb Negroes out here defending Sleeves Merritt. This is why we got so upset with Sleeves Merritt and Botham John's brother, who Sleeves Merritt kept enabling and making excuses for and co-signing. Because when these white supremacists see that Negroes are so stupid that they will focus on dumb things like forgiveness and symbolic BS like hugging a white supremacist who kills your family member, or the chess move with Jay-Z, they know that they can keep getting away with this shit because they know Negroes are too stupid to focus on the problem and focus on a permanent solution. You enabled Breonna Taylor's death. You enabled George Floyd's death. You enabled Ahmaud Arbery's death, you dumbass chess move Negroes. This is why I don't like talking about these incidents anymore. Because it's dumbass Negroes allowing this to happen. This is the chess move. All you did was grease the skids for them to murder Ahmaud Arbery. And some of you dumbass Negroes might be next, and I hope that you are. Because this is unacceptable. And I could go on and on about the dumb shit black people do. I've seen a lot of MBWs defending Doja Cat. A lot of Negro MBWs. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I'm not gonna say the word, but y'all know what I'm talking about. A lot of these mammies were out here defending Doja Cat because you see the problem is, fam, a lot of black women think they're exempt from white supremacy, but Breonna Taylor shows you that you're not exempt. So all you stupid Negroes making excuses for a Doja Cat, making excuses for a Jay-Z being used as a agent to cover up what they did to Colin Kaepernick, and then the fact that what Colin Kaepernick was protesting, it was, and my bad, fam, I got a phone call. Shit, my bad, fam, my bad for that. But anyway, um, so back to what I was saying. I got thrown off by that. Back to what I was saying, fam. So a lot of you sisters think that you're exempt from white supremacy. Breonna Taylor shows you that you're not. So when you want to co-sign these Doja Cats and these other bad wenches because you think that only black men are vulnerable to this, you think that only Ahmaud Arbery's and George Floyd's are in danger of getting murdered by race soldiers, Breonna Taylor shows you that's not the case. All right, there's countless other black women out there that show you that that's not the case. Cases of black women, Rakia Boyd, etc., etc., etc. You are not exempt. And a lot of you think that you are because the white supremacists target us more because they see us more as a threat because we're males. So a lot of you black women out here think that you're exempt, so you think that you don't have to care about racism. You think that you can lust for Zaddy and defend Doja Cat didn't do nothing songs. You're the reason why Breonna Taylor is dead. All you stupid Negroes talking about a chess move, allowing these white supremacists to ignore and cover up the fact that they crushed Colin Kaepernick's career and silenced him for speaking out against police brutality. You are responsible. You Negroes know that you are responsible for the death of a George Floyd. Because all you did was allow these white supremacists to pretend that they're not doing what they are so they can keep doing it. I told you guys at the beginning of the video, one of the key tools of maintaining white supremacy is denying that it's even happening. And so when you Negroes co-sign the chess move, all you're doing is co-signing the white supremacists, pretending that racism isn't what it is, that they themselves aren't racist, so that they can keep enabling George Floyd's to happen and keep enabling Ahmaud Arbery's to happen. Black people, in order to stop this, you must focus on tangibles. If you do not focus on tangibles, if you keep focusing on symbolism, this will keep happening. Because all you Negroes are going to do is get emotional and sad, and then we're going to wait a couple of months and this shit's going to happen again. And then you're going to get emotional and sad, and stop killing us, and I ran with Maud, and all of this dumb shit, and we got to vote. All of this dumb shit, and then it's going to happen again. And then, and it's going to be a repeating cycle, and this is why I don't like talking about this topic, because it's an endless repeating cycle. Negroes cry, Negroes get emotional, Negroes go back to doing the same shit that enables this to happen. White supremacists show fake sympathy, white supremacists show fake concern, and then they go right back to doing the same shit. Any Negro who defended Jay-Z is responsible for Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd, and Breonna Taylor. Any Negro who defended Botham Jean going and hugging that cop and showing forgiveness. These are the things that show white supremacists that black people are not going to do anything that's going to advocate for a permanent solution and punishment for these race soldiers. And so they're going to keep doing it because they know they're not going to be punished. And even if they are, the punishment is going to be extremely light. And some of them are okay with sacrificing their freedom because they see themselves in a war against black people. That's why they're killing you in the first place. So they're willing to sacrifice a couple of years of their freedom, especially when they know they're not going to get the max punishment to eliminate a Negro and continue to win the war, and all you Negroes show is that you're going to keep allowing it to happen. When Botham Jean hugged Amber Geiger, or Botham Jean's brother, Brant John, hugged Amber Geiger, he enabled Ahmaud Arbery to be killed. Because he showed the white supremacists, hey, us Negroes, we're on code to be slaves, and we're going to go along with you every time you murder us, because all we care about is hugging you and getting some love and affection from you, even if that love and affection has to come at the price of murdering our family members. So why would the white supremacists stop? They have all the power, and they have victims that are not going to do anything about it except get on social media and make some dumbass hashtag like I run with Maud and show all their fake Negro anger, and then still go along with the same old crap that keeps happening over and over. And still keep making excuses why we should vote for Democrats who are aggressive against us. Still keep making excuses why Jay-Z made the chess move. Still keep making excuses why Doja Cat, oh, it's not that serious. I ain't gonna get fake outrage because I'm a bad wench too. I seen some YouTube videos like that. And I could list countless other things. Obviously, the suicide down ballot strategy. There's a reason why I say these things, fam. A lot of people see, fam, and this is how I want to close the video because I know I've been going on a lot longer than I plan to. I plan on this being a real short video, but I just kind of started emotionally ranting, which is why I don't, again, which is why I don't like to make videos about these topics. And again, fam, just understand that if you see me skipping police brutality videos in the future, this rant is why. But fam, we have to do something different. If we keep doing the same thing's going to keep happening. I could list countless things that have gone on, and I want to backtrack a little bit and get back to what I was saying, fam. Again, fam, a lot of y'all, just to reiterate, a lot of y'all may not understand why I took certain things so seriously. You may not understand why I thought Jay-Z was a big deal. Some of you may not understand why I had a problem with the suicide down ballot strategy and other voting strategies, etc., 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 fam. The reason why I get upset about things that seem to some black people or a lot of black people like it's not that big a deal is because the little things that you think are not a big deal are actually big things that are a big deal. You might think saying that Jay-Z's pulling a chess move is not a big deal, but it is. You're enabling the murder of an Ahmaud Arbery because these white supremacists specifically, especially with a Jay-Z, that's why I keep mentioning him in this video. They specifically got Jay-Z to cover up the fact that they fired somebody for speaking out against police brutality and the fact that they're racist white supremacists who agree with police brutality and want it to continue. So when you dumbass Negroes co-sign their attempt to cover that up by hiring Jay-Z, all you did was enable them to and show them that, hey, these Negroes are not gonna do shit to stop us from committing police brutality. They didn't do shit. They didn't stand up for Colin Kaepernick. All we had to do was bring in Jay-Z, who we've propped up and we've made these Negroes fans of, and they forgot about Colin Kaepernick and what Colin Kaepernick was upset about and what we did to Colin Kaepernick for being upset about that. They know just by the fact that you're talking about a chess move that they now have a green light to kill the next black person. Black people are responsible for Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, and Ahmaud Arbery. Just as responsible as any white supremacist. Because you keep having the same foolish, retired, recycled reactions. You keep going to the polls voting for people who do damage to you, and then you listen to Negro. Then what's even worse is that some of you will know that they do damage to you, and you'll hear people tell you how much damage they've done to you and the condition that they've put you in, and tell you why you need reparations, and then you'll still listen to that same person, then turn around and tell you all the damage that Democrats has allowed to do to you as a reason of why you should keep voting for them. They'll tell you that you're due to have zero wealth gap by 2053. This is while you were voting for Democrats. And then you'll still listen to them after they tell you that the Democrats have put you in a position to have zero wealth by 2053. You'll still listen to them tell you to vote down ballot for Democrat because you are a slave to personality and too many Negroes get in the cult of personality. And you can't even think straight. You're responsible for Ahmaud Arbery's death. You suicide down ballot Negroes. Yes, I'm saying it. Yes, you Negroes who just vote for Democrats, period, and you don't even have a stupid ass suicide down ballot strategy. You're responsible. You Negroes talking about Jay-Z making the chess move. You're responsible. You Negroes making excuses for Doja Cat. You're responsible. Because these are the things that enable white supremacy. Instead of focusing on punishment and resources, punishment for white supremacists and resources for black people so we can protect ourselves. Tangible resources. Instead of focusing on that, you want to focus on dumb shit like the chess move and voting for the Democrats and Christian forgiveness. And notice these white supremacists don't ever Christian forgive you. As a matter of fact, they use the crimes that you supposedly commit as a reason why you did not deserve forgiveness and a reason why you deserve to be murdered. Let's pretend for just a second that Ahmaud Arbery was some mass burglar. Why isn't he being forgiven like these white supremacists want you to forgive all these race soldiers like Botham John ran and his family or Botham John's family ran around forgiving Amber Geiger, or how Walter Scott's mother forgave I forget his name, Slager or whatever that officer's name was. See, white people don't show mercy. As a matter of fact, they used your wrongs as reason why you did not deserve mercy, as a reason why you deserve to die. But you dumb Negroes who are still buying into that slave Christianity religion will sit up here and allow the white supremacists to manipulate you into talking some forgiveness crap. The same forgiveness you never show for a Negro. If a Negro slaps you, you ain't turning the other cheek. You whooping his ass. But when a white supremacist comes in and kills your mother, kills your brother, kills your son, you forgiven. So anyway, fam, again, I didn't want to make this video. I'm just ranting, but black people enabled this. Black people enabled George Floyd. Black people enabled Ahmaud Arbery. Um, you know, black people enabled Breonna Taylor. And this is, again, also, like I said with the Ahmaud Arbery video, on top of all of that, then the family comes out and they undermine us with this same forgiveness talk when they want a settlement bag because they're running around with Sleaze Merritt or Benjamin Crump. And that's another, and that's the other thing too, fam. I don't really want to speak on these because I don't want the family to undermine us. We're sitting out here speaking out against racism, and then these families come out here and say it ain't racism and it ain't that, and we needs to forgive just so that they can get the settlement bag. They're undermining us when we're out here trying to fight justice for their family members. We don't know none of these people. I don't know any of these people personally. Any of these people who've been killed by police brutality and it's been made a national news. So why am I fighting for you if all you're going to do is undermine and contradict everything I'm saying about what happened in order to get him justice? You're going to undermine and contradict it in order to get your settlement bag, and you're not even sharing none of the settlement bag with me. No, I'm not out here going to speak out for you anymore. I need to see what you're going to say, and I need to see you speaking out and standing up against white supremacy and calling for punishment of the race soldier before I speak up for these cases. So that's the other main reason, the final main reason why I did not speak up about these George Floyd cases and this Breonna Taylor case until this video. And I won't be speaking about them again in the future because I need to see these families stand up, call it what it is, and demand justice and punishment. And I need to see some actual punishment because the moment I see forgiveness and hugging and no punishment, I know that all my efforts were in vain, at least for that specific black person. I'm going to still speak out against white supremacy in general, but as far as speaking up for specific black people, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it outside of one or two videos. And obviously, in order to facilitate me speaking out against white supremacy in general, yes, I'll use these people as examples, but I'm not going to make a crusade out of it. I'm not going to make a crusade out of Breonna Taylor. Already told y'all I'm not making a crusade out of Ahmaud Arbery. And I'm not going to make a crusade out of George Floyd. This is the only video I'm going to make about George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. And I won't be speaking about them again until I start seeing the family demand justice and punishment for the white supremacists. But anyway, fam, that's my rant. It's went on way, way longer than I want, 35 minutes, but hopefully y'all listen to it. Anyway, that's another video. Like, share, subscribe, and peace.